Welcome back, everyone. In the last video, we learned about nesting components inside of the routing structure, and we're starting to set up our initial navigation bar component. In this video, we are going to dive deeper into actually styling it out and structuring our code according to our folder structure. So the first thing that I want you to do is I actually want you to take this navigation component and put it inside of your routes. So I'm going to make a new component or a new folder for our component inside of our routes folder called navigation. Inside of navigation, it's going to follow the same format where we have a navigation.component.jsx file. Then we're going to go back to app.js. We're going to cut out this code for navigation, and we're going to paste it inside of our navigation component file. Then we're going to copy this outlet code because that's where we need the outlet from React Router DOM, because we're using the outlet in order to actually render these nested components inside of our navigation. And then I'm going to export default navigation, the same setup we've been doing all this time. Now inside of app.js, because we're now no longer leveraging navigation that we had defined inside, we need to import it in. And we also need to get rid of outlet because it's no longer a dependency. And here we're going to go up to our routes folder, our navigation, and our navigation component. And now all our code should work the exact same. So let's just check. We see that we have our navigation bar and we have our navigation bar on our home page. So everything's still working. When we look at our application here, our final application, this is what we want the navigation to bar to look. Right now, it's just some text. So let's start building it out. Let's go back to our navigation component, and let's remember what these divs are. This outside div is almost like a div that contains everything, so the entire page. Instead of using a div here, we can actually use a fragment. And a fragment is something that we get from React. It's essentially a component that actually renders to nothing when it actually gets mounted on the DOM. The whole reason of using a fragment is because of React's rules where a component must have a parent, a top-level parent containing a component. A fragment is useful if you don't actually want to render some specific HTML element. For example, if I just want a div that represents the actual navigation and then I want the components that represent my pages down below, I don't need a wrapping div. I can just use a fragment. So with this fragment, once it actually finally renders, nothing's going to render on the page, and we'll check this out. So let's save this code, and let's just give this class name for now, navigation, so that we know what we're looking at when we look inside of our code. So let's save this. Let's go back. Let's refresh. And let's just inspect the elements on this page. So here inside of elements, what we see is that this is our navigation, and then right away it's our root. This root is the entry point. If you remember, we use react.dom.render targeting this div. But other than the navigation and then the inside div that contains the homepage element of directory, there is no other wrapping div. So as you can see, there's actually no fragment on here. And that's the beautiful thing about React Fragment. Very useful. So let's go back and now style the rest of our navigation. So we have this navigation component. And what we know is that there is a logo component here. So for now, I'm just going to make a div, and inside I'm going to say logo. We're actually going to import in the logo SVG file, and I'm going to explain that after. But I'm just setting up the initial basis of the application first. There's also a div. And inside of the div, this is going to hold all of our links. So here we can say that this is the links container, because that's what it's going to contain. It's going to contain all the possible links that we can go to. And then inside of here, we're going to actually have links that take you to the different pages or routes that are available. So inside of here, let's import in the link component. And link is essentially an anchor tag, but what it does is that it actually appropriately dynamically uses the correct browser that you have installed and it will take your application to that specific place. Now, this is not so important for us because it behaves pretty much just like an anchor tag inside of a browser router, which is what we have. But if you were using other types of routers, there might be a little bit of different behavior. That's not so important right now, because right now, all we need to know is that this link component is what we utilize in order to leverage proper routing, just like we do with anchor tags. Now, because we're probably going to want to style these, we should also give it a class name. So I'm going to give it the class name of link. We can even call it navlink if we want to be more specific. In fact, let's call this navlinks container. So here is navlink. And then inside, in order to tell this link where we want to go, we give it the to property. And here we just match the string we're trying to navigate to. So I want to go to /shop. Inside of the link, we put some text. Let's say we say shop. And then finally, this should be the very formative basis of our component. So once again, because we want to style this, let's just see what it looks like first. We see there's a Lure logo, and then we see there's shop. If I hit shop, it takes me to shop. Right now, there's no way of going back other than pressing the back button, but we want our logo to be the thing that will allow us to actually go back as well. So the great thing about link is that it's just like an anchor tag. Whatever you wrap in a link will give you that navigation functionality. So let's make a new link that we wrap around our logo. As for the link itself, instead, this class name should be our logo container, because that's what it is. It contains the logo. We might want some different styling for it than we do for our nav links. And then instead, where it should navigate to is the slash, because that is where our homepage lives. So now if we save this and we go back to our application, if we click shop, it takes us to the shop. And now if we click logo, it takes us to the homepage. So here everything behaves the way we want it to. We've got in some navigation behavior now, all thanks to the link component that we get from React Router DOM, which again behaves like anchor tags, but with a little bit of additional functionality according to the needs of React Router DOM. And finally, we have separated out our navigation component into its own component. So a lot of good work with navigation now. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're actually going to bring in that crown SVG for our logo. And we're also going to start styling out this navigation. So we'll see you in the next video for that.